I'm joined here today by the Attorney General Peter Neronha, representatives from the United States Marshal Service, to provide information as to yesterday's officer-involved shooting in the city of Woonsocket. I want to note that the investigation is open and ongoing, and we're here to provide as much information as possible. These are the facts. Yesterday, April 27th, 2022, at 12:30 p.m., a woman came to the Lincoln Barracks and alleged that at 10:30 a.m., a man known to her as Russell Dufault, age 58, of Portsmouth, Rhode Island, assaulted and held her at gunpoint against her will in the driveway of her Little Compton home. The suspect demanded $80,000 that he believed was stolen by a member of her family. The victim stated that Dufault forcibly removed her from her vehicle, pointed the gun at her, and threatened to kill her. After approximately 30 minutes, Dufault let the victim leave the scene. A court-authorized arrest warrant was issued for Dufault for felony assault and kidnapping. Based on the indication of a firearm being used during the incident, and based on Dufault's criminal history, which included several counts of armed robbery in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, the warrant was turned over to the Rhode Island State Police Violent Fugitive Task Force. The Rhode Island State Police Violent Fugitive Task Force is comprised of 18 members from the Rhode Island State Police, the United States Marshal Service, and several municipal police departments. It is co-managed by the Rhode Island State Police and the United States Marshal Service. The Violent Fugitive Task Force is responsible for tracking and locating members, subjects that are wanted on violent felony charges. Members of the Violent Fugitive Task Force track and investigate long-term fugitive matters and also handle a large quantity of parole violators, federal probation violators, ACI escapees, and requests from the Attorney General's office, as well as requests from municipal and federal law enforcement agencies. As you know, this is an active and ongoing investigation, and I can provide you with these details. Dufault was located in Woonsocket, sitting in his vehicle that was used in the earlier incident in Little Compton. Members of the Violent Fugitive Task Force approached Dufault's vehicle in an attempt to arrest him. The detectives and US Marshal immediately identified themselves and gave several verbal commands for Dufault to stop and exit his vehicle. Dufault attempted to flee the scene, driving his vehicle directly at the officers, striking the United States Marshal, causing him to be thrown onto the hood of Dufault's vehicle. Dufault drove forward, striking the unmarked state police cruiser and pinning a Rhode Island State Police detective between the two vehicles. Two officers discharged their firearms, and Dufault was fatally wounded. Life-saving measures were given by the officers following the incident. He was transported to Landmark Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead. The Rhode Island Office of Attorney General Use of Force Response Protocol was immediately initiated. The investigation is being conducted by members of the Rhode Island State Police Detective Bureau in conjunction with the Rhode Island Attorney General, the United States Marshal Service, and the Woonsocket Police Department. We later learned that Dufault was a suspect in a bank robbery that occurred on Monday, April 25th, at the Navigant Credit Union located at 20 Dexter Street in Pawtucket. The two state police detectives involved in this incident are Detective Gregory DeMarco and Detective Theodore Gibbons. Both are 10-year veterans of the Rhode Island State Police and are both assigned to the Violent Fugitive Task Force. We anticipate releasing additional details in the coming days. Does anyone have any questions?
Do you know which officer fired? Did multiple officers fire this gentleman?
One member of the Rhode Island State Police fired, discharged his duty weapon, and the United States Marshal also discharged his weapon. Once again, this is an active and ongoing investigation, and we anticipate releasing more details on that in the next couple of days.
Was Mr. DeMarco armed?
Yeah, Mr. DeMarco is a state police detective, yes.
I'm sorry, forgive me. Dufault, was he armed?
A firearm was located on his person, yes.
Did he discharge it?
It's active and ongoing right now, so let's release more information as we release in the next couple of days, but I'm not.
Bank robbery was when?
April 25th.
I'm not sure if you said this, but about what time did they approach the vehicle there in Woonsocket?
Major Kramer, is that about 6:30 p.m.? 6:30 p.m.
Do you have the spelling on his name?
Dufault?
Yes.
Yes. Capital D, small u, F-A-U-L-T, Dufault.
And what was his age again?
58 of Portsmouth, Rhode Island.
And what, obviously, I know it's a long investigation, but, what took police, so long to kind of update the media on what happened?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Why was it, about 20 hours before the media was updated on what had happened?
Well, we put out information last night on what had occurred, but once again, this is a very complex, thorough investigation and we don't rush to judgment. And Rhode Island State Police, the Rhode Island Attorney General, the US Marshal Service worked pretty much throughout the night to get all the facts. We did not want to release anything unless it was factual. Right here is as factual as we can get right now.
What was his relationship with the woman in Little Compton?
The victim, the woman who we spoke about, Mr. Dufault, was her sister's ex-boyfriend.
Is she okay?
The victim? Yes.
What's the status of the two officers, like their condition?
One officer was injured, minor injuries, taken to the hospital and released. The U.S. Marshal, the same. And one of the officers is out on administrative leave, which is required by our policy involving a use of force incident such as this. And the other one is also on leave until we can, he'll be back very shortly.
Are you going to identify the officers?
Involved in the incident? I did.
Oh, they are the two.
Yes, so Detective Gregory DeMarco and Detective Theodore Gibbons were the two state police detectives that were involved in the incident.
And US Marshal?
I will defer to the United States Marshal who's here to answer that question.
Would you,
Sorry.
thank you. Tell us your name first.
Robert Charette, Chief Deputy U.S. Marshal here in Providence, Rhode Island. The dissemination of the name of our Deputy U.S. Marshal cannot, per policy, take place at the district level. That information will be sent out via the Office of Congressional Affairs or the Department of Justice down at Arlington, D.C.
Can you say how he's doing?
How he's doing?
It's a guy, right?
Yep, he's doing great. He's banged up, but fortunately, he's going to be okay and he'll be back.
And your officer's involvement is as a result of his being part of this task force. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any reason, do you know what brought him to that location in Woonsocket?
I know. So once again, that's part of the investigation. That's part of what we're trying to determine why he was at that location right now.
Do you have an address for him? Or?
I have Portsmouth, Rhode Island right now. That's all I have, right? Yes.
Do you know how many shots were fired at that location?
We do, but that's part of what will come out at a later date.
how he was found in Woonsocket? Was that local police involvement?
It was the Rhode Island State Police Violent Fugitive Task Force used very numerous investigative tools to determine he was in the area.
That vehicle he was in, you know what type of vehicle that was? Can you identify that?
I don't have that in front of me. Major, do you have that?
2009 Honda CRV, color blue.
Okay, does anyone else have any other questions?
Um,
I'm sorry.
Chief, any involvement by your officers there in Woonsocket, or?
Our department was notified immediately that the incident happened by the officers that were on scene. Actually, they called through us. A Woonsocket Rescue responded, Woonsocket Fire, and administered aid and transported the victim to landmark. So then we, being there, it's our primary jurisdiction. We assisted in securing the crime scene so that the rest of the investigators and the rest of the team that would come through, they were there for hours last night. So we just assisted with maintaining the perimeter, and per protocol, I assigned detectives to assist the state police through the Attorney General's policy to assist in whatever way that we could.
General, do you want to add where you're investigating this? Is that the?
Well, yes, the way we investigate all such incidents. So there's an Attorney General's protocol for use of force by police, including deadly force. There's a memorandum to that effect. It's a public document. It's on our website. I believe I signed it in July of 2020. And under that protocol, when there is a officer-involved shooting which results in deadly force, then the investigative team consists of prosecutors from my office, the state police in every instance, and when it's a state police officer who is involved, then the police department where the incident took place is also involved. So it's always a three-member team that handles these cases. And so, as the colonel said, there are some facts that are known now, but the state police and Woonsocket police and our prosecutors are still, frankly, gathering facts and reconstructing the crime scene, and that's why it's very difficult to give all of the details as to what happened now. As soon as we're in a position to disclose them, we will, but it's not possible for us to disclose them because we just don't have them ourselves at the moment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have the spelling of the two officers?
Yes. The two state police detectives first is Detective Gregory DeMarco, capital D, small e, capital M, A-R-C-O, and Detective Theodore Gibbons, Gibbons.
And then, as far as the suspect's first name, do you know how you, is it traditional Russian spelling?
I'm sorry, the suspect's first name?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Let me look here, 1 second. Russell, Russell. Okay, so as information is received and we can disseminate, we will be notifying the press. So thank you very much for coming.